flagship Apollo. It's L. Ron Hubbard. Well, so much for that. But what has that got to do with this galaxy? A lot. Because the second we look at the actual true character of an operating Thetan, we recognize what we are dealing with and why all of this could be very upsetting in various directions. Early on, conceiving that free Thetans were very dangerous and should be shot down in their tracks, people started laying in implants. Very often, a long time before the planet came under attack, from these implant people, waves of radioactive clouds, Magellanic clouds, black and gray, would sweep over and engulf the planet. There would be an atmosphere of radioactivity which was highly antipathetic to the living beings and bodies on the planet. All of a sudden, these otherwise clear skies would ordinarily have merely rain clouds in them and would become radioactive. The wise savants of the day, who sat there stroking their long, useless diplomas, explained it as the disintegration of the universe, as natural phenomena. They would say, at a certain period in time of life in this galaxy, the Magellanic radioactive masses at the interior of the hub began to disperse themselves out toward the spinning of the rim, and this is known as the Keplin-Spreplin law and the Buplin-Buplin law, and the calculations are n to the gup-gup squared and the rippity-bip-bop to the 10th power. But the truth of the matter is somebody was letting these clouds loose. Because of that scientific theory, nobody found out for a long time that it was being done. And it was incredible that anybody would do it. The natural law that you could use to do it was not known. When a system had been engulfed, they would send little ships in, little orange-colored bombs that would talk. Speech was frozen into electronic capsules. It was all very clever. The utter insanity. It made it so incredible nobody believed it, and it was one of their greatest protections. Why would anybody go to this much trouble? I don't suppose as the Thetan was picked up the very first time. It was very clever. They had some means of contracting a traction beam. These guys were pretty smart and electronically way advanced. He would resist it, but a year or two in, he would begin to run into another one, and he would resist it. A while later, he would run into another one, and he'd resist that. Then finally, when he didn't have his attention on it, and he'd already been weakened and was beginning to worry, the beam would go choop and pull him up into the sky and enclose him in a capsule. Next thing you know, sometime between the next month or 6 months or something like that, they would shoot him into the implant area and fix him on a post. There was a little monowheel pole at the trap, and it had an effigy of a body on it. He didn't have a body, and the pole trap had a body on it. They didn't care whether somebody was used to having bodies or not used to having bodies. And away they'd go through this thing. He would eventually get off and go home, and then sooner or later he was picked up again, and this time he would be much weaker. You can imagine what would happen on a planet which had been going along, minding its own business, no trouble at all, no wars, and suddenly its clouds turn into radioactive masses. All of a sudden, orange bursts come down out of the clouds, representing the gods and chariots or some such thing, and so forth, and all kinds of rumors are thrown around. After that period, the planet was almost totally in revolt. That is the atmosphere of an ungovernable area. That's the atmosphere of hysteria. You're going to find the world going crazier and crazier in that particular direction. Why? Because radioactive fallout is adequate enough to start keying it in. We are not looking at a calm future on this planet. If we weren't sitting here today doing our jobs, Lord knows what would happen on this planet. We have some responsibility in this direction. Why do you think a Thetan feels like that when he suddenly finds himself freed, or a third free and perhaps able to operate some, and he sees around him the symbols carried forward on the track which destroyed his civilization in the first place? What do you think his reaction's going to be? So there are several political and organizational factors and so forth that confront our immediate future. They have to do with the fact that things are not as we would like to have them. If we can handle things as we would like to have them, I'm afraid we're going to have to take it in that order. So there are several political and organizational factors that confront our immediate future. They have to do with the facts of things as they are, not as we would have them. If we handle things as they are, it may come about that we can have things as we would like to have them. But I'm afraid we will have to take it in that order and plan to work accordingly. And if we do, everything will be well. Of course, the job at once is to make somebody clear, to make somebody go OT.